Ulabalu about tallying center. Ordinarily, at basic level, every candidate, even at constituency, even at governor level, would have some form of a tallying center.
Right.
But for the presidential candidate, what would amount to a full-blown tallying center? I think is not feasible.
Is it?
It's not feasible because that would require that every presidential candidate has agents in every polling station.
So that's about more than 46,000 polling stations.
Yes, and the ability to transmit. Now, you'll find that the way the Kenyan terrain is, people tend to have, you'll find that Raila may not have his agents fully mounted in the Sugoi area, just like Honorable Ruto may not have his people in Bondo area, just like my friend Wajakoya may not have quite a number. So they are sporadic, and therefore they would just give a representative picture, those who transmit from their candidates and so on. But the danger is people can fake. So that they show up their numbers. Somebody is sending their own things. Right. They have added their own numbers. So there's the IBC numbers which are lower, your numbers are higher, and then Kenyans are like, they're stealing our votes. Those are the dangers.
Is certainly something that might cause some sort of disruptions within the transmission of results.
Actually, there must be clarity that the transmission is this, and if you have your own, it is for purposes of verification, for confirming that what has been transmitted is correct. Right. But if you have your own tallying center and then you hire a media house saying, Ruto tallying center, Raila tallying center saying this one is saying. So
you foresee some sort of confusion within the
If they go full blown, then there will be confusion, especially when they turn dishonest.
Okay. All right, Prof. Adam Zolo, I want to get your sentiments as well on this. I know, the Azimio One Kenya coalition said that they were actually planning to have the same. But is it, what do you think of this test for accountability? Is this the ultimate test?
Yeah. I mean, we usually see the U.S. elections. We watch with you the U.S. elections.
Right.
And normally...
But how feasible is it?
It's the media that usually calls the election based on exit polls and all that.
Right.
And usually the Electoral Commission there normally just comes to confirm. So I think what is being done here, and I think 2007, I think media stations posted their representatives within the constituency tallying centers. Right. I think the question is, can everybody have a representative at the polling station? Maybe yes, maybe not. I think for presidential candidates, especially the two major candidates, I think they'll try and have each in each polling station, because
but that is quite a massive.
It's a massive, but how many
financial infrastructure?
It's a financial infrastructure. How much are they spending? Because if you finally calculate 46,000 polling agents and you're paying them 2,000 or 1,000 a day, it would exceed 1 billion. They are spending much more than that. If you really want to win this thing, you must spend money. And therefore, you must ensure that finally you have people down there. But I think that what one should also be looking at, I think media will play a big part in this, because the way I'm seeing the IEBC is basically saying is that for each polling station, they'll take the polling agents or the polling clerk will take their presidential, if I'm to talk only of the presidential, they'll take their results, once announced at the polling station, to the constituency tallying center. It is at the constituency tallying center that there will be an official announcement that, for example, Westlands constituency, candidate A, B, C has gotten this. And it is again from the constituency tallying center that the returning officer will carry his or her tally to Bomas. And it is that constituency, those are 290. And if you have the media there, and Ambrose Weda is the returning officer, announcing that candidate A, with the media there, with everybody there, then whether you try to say that candidate A got 400, yet we have the media capturing Ambrose Wedder announcing a different figure, then it doesn't matter whether you pushed it up or not. Yeah.
Dennis, let me now get you into this. What are the stakes here? And I'm only imagining an instance where perhaps the tally does not correspond. You have the media, you have, political players, the two political formations, and the rest who can afford to have agents across all the polling stations. What happens here then? Let's say, the tally doesn't correspond with that of the IBC. Are we foreseeing a situation where there will be some sort of confusion?
Thank you very much. I think credibility is built upon the fact that election results are accessible and verifiable. And there's a certain requirement that seeks to address the constitutional threshold of a presidential candidate being able to bring in, signatures within a certain number of counties. You cannot be a presidential candidate and then you don't have a national threshold in terms of mobilization. You cannot be a presidential candidate that is only seen on TV, but then doesn't have the force that is required on the ground. That is why the nomination requires that you provide a certain threshold in a number of counties. So we assume that then you'll be required to provide a concept that, sort of protects your vote across the board. Now, one of the most important things that we have to look at is that because of the trust issue and because of the credibility issue, then we provided an election that is fivefold. You register, there's electronic verification, there's the voting and the voting party's manual, there's the tallying, and then there's a transmission, and the transmission is electoral at the end of the day. And so it's important for every election result to be accessible and verifiable. And I don't see any injury that will be introduced, whether from a security perspective or anything of the sort, but the question of integrity will be medicated. And then upon exit polls, one of the things that upon tallying, one of the things that will be there is that election officials sign documents at every polling center, and I think the law is specific in terms of the number of votes that must be within one polling station. Then, after tallying, those election results then are posted on the door. And every agent is given their paperwork, basically. So, tallying or any other, any other tallying center for any presidential candidate would not be based on guesswork. It is based on formal paperwork from the IBC. And this form of paperwork, in case of a presidential petition, this is what is administered in court there.